Everyone wants to take advantage of LinkedIn. Now, we don't want to collect connections like Pokemon cards. We want to be able to utilize our connections for great opportunities. But how? How do we network properly? We're going to give you a 5-step framework that make you more effective when it comes to LinkedIn and your network. It's good. Real good. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. On this episode, we have a fantastic guest. Her name is Sabine Gedeon, and she has an amazing consulting firm where she works with organizations, teams, when it comes towards professional development, specifically LinkedIn in this case. How can we maximize LinkedIn? And she has a 5-step process that she utilizes to be able to make sure she enriches her relationships and to build an effective network that she can rely on. If this is your first time listening to our podcast, our show's designed to do two things. One, help you to build pipeline. Two, help you to convert a higher percentage of those pipeline into closed opportunities. Double your close rate. That's the promise. Each of our episodes is going to outline different ideas that ties back to that. And specifically today, we're going to talk about LinkedIn. Speaking of LinkedIn, there are sponsors for this podcast as well. And if you want to take advantage of LinkedIn Sales Navigator, make sure to take advantage of it. Go to linkedin.com/TSE for a 60-day trial. All that's here. I want you to make the best of LinkedIn. Utilize it. As we dive in, Sabine's going to give you a little bit of her background, her experience, why she's so passionate about LinkedIn, and how this has helped her to be more effective. Welcome to the show, Sabine.
Thank you, Donald. So excited to be here.
I'm really pumped for this. I'm excited for it because in so many different levels I've overlooked. I'm a LinkedIn, I just love LinkedIn connoisseur. I love it. And what I find is that I don't do as much as I know I should be or could be doing. And I hope to get from this episode, selfishly, as much as I want to benefit our audience, how can I make sure I'm a better relationship builder? How can I build a better, stronger network, and how can I utilize LinkedIn more effective on that? So I'm really looking forward to that, to hearing your insights. But before we dive into that piece, I bragged about you a little bit in a teaser there. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you do?
Yeah, so I'll give you the Cliff Notes version today. I serve as the CEO of Gedeon Enterprises, which is a professional development firm. I work with individuals, organizations in the capacity of coaching, consulting, is anything talent related, minus the actual recruiting process, but talent development, talent management. I also am a speaker and an author, and yeah, jack of all, or Jane of all trades, if you will.
I like it, Jane. But you got to, especially when your company is kicking off, like there's no one else that can do the stuff for you, or it's stuff that you're passionate about, and you got to do what you got to do, and clearly it shows with all the success that you're seeing. So I'm going to push folks to connect back to you on LinkedIn so they can go and see all the good things you're doing there, and maybe connect with you one of your lives there as well.
Thank you.
So let's go into this conversation. LinkedIn. Anyone that's living under a rock that doesn't know much about LinkedIn, probably living under a rock. However, we do find that some people do not necessarily, they know about LinkedIn, but they don't engage on it for one reason or another. Talk to me about why what in your experience, why are people so apprehensive or do not use LinkedIn properly to network? And I probably call myself out.
Yeah, so it's been an evolution, if you will, right? Because when LinkedIn first came out, and I've been on it since 2007, so it's been a minute. I actually just got my "You've been on here 17 years" email, which made me feel a little old, but that's a different story. When we first started, when it first started, I was in recruitment, right? And so I used it for the purposes of finding talent. And so you saw a lot of people would go on there. If they had a profile, it was just a copy and paste of their actual resume. And that's what LinkedIn was for a very long time. Then around 2019, 2020, you started seeing more of the marketers start to gravitate towards LinkedIn just because no one had used it in that capacity. And so they started leveraging the algorithm basically to help get their word out there. So they would, create all this content around how to job search and everything else that the people on there wanted. And so more people started gravitating towards it. But then you still had traditional individuals in corporate America who were like, I'm not looking for a job right now. I don't need to be on there. Or maybe I just scroll on there to celebrate, such and such because she got a promotion or something like that. Over the last year or so, I've seen LinkedIn really evolve into this place where, it's not just about I need a job, who can get me a job, but it's really been about building relationships and building community and a place where people learn and grow. Now, for those who are hesitant, I mean, my background is in human resources, and I can tell you that majority of the HR people who are on there are not active, and in the case of they're not sharing, insights or anything like that. But a majority of people who are on there now, the focus is really just, you know, I have something to share. This is the place that is safe, if you will, to get my voice out there. But the people who are more reluctant are just, it's unfortunate, but the mindset is if I'm not looking for a job or if I don't need anything, I know I don't need to be on there. And there's that saying, right? Like the best time to get a new job is when you have a job, or the best time to make a friend is when you have friends. And so I think people are really missing out on the opportunity to start to build and cultivate relationships. But before they need things, it's almost like that whole notion around making deposits before you can make withdrawals. People are missing out on the opportunity to make deposits before they start to need the withdrawals.
I had a friend's brother when we were first graduating college. He gave him that advice as he was entering the corporate scene, and we were like, the one about the best time to find a job is when you have a job. And I was like, that makes absolutely no sense. Why would I want to get a job when I have a job? It's like dumb. And I was like, Rob, you gone off on a crazy side. And then it wasn't until later on I realized how wise Rob was with that, and wherever Rob got it from. But it makes so much sense. And it's like even with sales or with anything, it's better to have the people or have those, the deposits in the bank before you can come for the withdrawal. You have an amazing 5-step process. I would love for you for a second, if you can just take a minute and just tell us what those 5 steps are, and then maybe we can go through the 5 steps of how, and it's to outline how we can utilize LinkedIn effectively to build the relationships, and find opportunities or results from that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as with anything that I teach, I do believe, they say, I've heard various numbers, but I'll stick with 80%. I believe anything that we do, 80% of it is mindset, 20% is strategy and execution. So,
Amen.
we start with the connector's mindset. And what that means is you are identifying, why are you doing this? What is the why behind it? Because if you're not clear on why you want to connect with people, especially in sales, right? Like everybody can do the whole throwing spaghetti at the wall, or they can do the whole like mass, let me send out 1,000 invites and see who who says yes or who engages. Or you can be mindful around, okay, who do I want to connect with? Why am I connecting with them? And along the lines with the connector's mindset, you're also figuring out, what do you bring to the table? What do you have as a deposit into someone else's life, into someone else's business, into someone else's career? So you're getting your mind right around, what am I looking for? What is my why? And what am I bringing to the table? Because I'm a big believer on, the give before you ask, the deposits before withdrawals. The next.
Have you read Bob Berg's book, The Go-Giver?
The Go-Giver, yes.
Come on.
Yes.
Come on. Big shout out to Bob Berg, good friend of ours.
And this is also based off of that, right? Because there is truth to that. You call it a universal law of reaping and sowing. So I am a firm believer of that. Then once you've gotten your mindset right, you know why you're doing it, you know what you're bringing to the table, especially for those who are in traditional environments. I think it's very important, and this helps along with the mindset too, is to get clear on who you are, what you bring to the table, as in the person, right? Because oftentimes, and this is some of the resistance that we see when it comes to networking or building relationships or community building, whatever you want to call it, if you have an aversion to networking, people will be like, well, I don't want to ask such and such for anything because I don't have anything to offer. Or such and such is so busy, like it would be bothering them. And so when you go into anything with that mindset that you don't have anything to bring to the table or that you'll be bothering, especially in sales, we'll talk ourselves out of, picking up the phone or sending that email. And so you get to the place to say, okay, what I have to offer is X, right? So if you are in sales, like I used to say I'm not in sales, but I quickly had to adjust. Yes, you are, ma'am. I have a service. I have a service that can help organizations retain their talent, essentially, save their, help with their revenue, help with their customer base and whatnot. And so I had to get clear on what is the value that I bring to the table. What are my strengths? What's my area of expertise? And then also, what are my opportunities? So I'm looking at it even from a sales perspective on my values assessment or my value assessment, excuse me, what is it that I'm bringing to the table? And then where do I have some gaps? Because when I go out to network, I want to be just as mindful on who I'm connecting with for the people who I can help support, but also the people who can help pour back into me. So that's step 2.
Okay. Step 3.
Step 3, you are looking at your network from the broad perspective of ecosystems, right? So we get from the place where we've got our mind right, we know what we're bringing to the table, we know where we have our gaps and opportunities. Now we're looking outwardly, and our ecosystems, there's 6 core ecosystems. Yeah, that's the friends and family. That's anyone that is in, deals with finances, any political. As well as any, now I'm blanking out here. So friends and family, political, financial, community oriented or social oriented. And so you're looking at these different ecosystems and you're identifying who fits in those ecosystems, because we all have individuals that we either know as first connections, if you will, or second connections in those ecosystems. And usually when I say the politics ones, people are like, I'm not into that. Everyone or not everyone, but you may have a political affiliation or not, but everyone, whatever city or town you live in, you have a city council person, you have a mayor, you have a sheriff, right? If you're in a smaller town. So there is some level of that. And so you're asking yourself, you look very, very broad of all the people that I know, right? Where do they sit in these particular ecosystems? On the financial side, it could be your banker, it could be your broker, it could be your realtor. So think outside of the box, outside of the people that you work with in the day-to-day, to all the people that you interact with. Once you get clear on your ecosystems, then you're going to do an inventory list and you're going to bucket everyone, right? So with that inventory list, you're going to say, okay, in the friends and family, right? These are the people that I know in friends and family. I would, most of them, obviously, you're going to rank them as close connections, but maybe on the political side, if it's your mayor and you've never met your mayor, you don't even know who your mayor is, that might be someone that you identify as like a second or third connection. So you then look at, where do these people fall within my ecosystems? What is the ranking of closeness? Or if I know that, Donald knows the mayor, all right, maybe that's not someone that I know, but I know someone who knows them. So you're going to rank them in that order. Once you've gotten your inventory list, then you build out your, what I like to call your success circles. So there's 3 circles. Your first circle is your Fab Five. And so it's going off of that notion that you are the sum of the 5 people that are closest to you, right? So yes. Who is your Fab Five? Depending on the audience, I'll say these are the people. They're not the ones who are in your household, right? That's not your family members, but these are the people who are your roll dogs, the people who you're willing to ugly cry in front of, the people who push you and challenge you. Those are your Fab Five. You're talking to them on a regular basis. You're probably on some group chat with them. So these individuals, they are your people. Then the next circle are your core 50. This is your circle of influence. And this core 50 includes, individuals that you are in your field, individuals that you've worked with in the past, individuals that you're connected with on LinkedIn. These are the individuals that you are making sure, at least on a monthly basis, if not every other month, you're touching base with them, whether it's a quick check-in, if it's a coffee chat, you're having collaborations with them. These are the people that when you need something, you know that you can pick up the phone, you can send an email, you can send a LinkedIn message, and they're going to respond. Then the next layer is your essential 100. That's the most fluid, and that is the most diverse of all of the circles. And these people are, maybe you went to a conference and you met a bunch of cool people. You want to connect with them. You want to bring them into your circle. You do the outreach. This one I recommend at least every 90 days, once a quarter. You're touching base. As you know, you meet someone at a conference, you have a great conversation, you connect or you reach out, and maybe they don't respond. All right, next time around, you go back at it. And if they don't respond again, then they get removed. But this
Yeah.
essential 100 becomes like, if you're really looking at it from the perspective of LinkedIn, these would be they're still second connections, but they're closer to third connections. These are people that you want to build strong relationships with, but don't necessarily have to talk to them on a regular basis. So it could be, and I'll give you my strategy. For my essential 100, I have 1 week out of the quarter that I reach out to everyone, right? Whether it's hey, I saw your newsletter or whatever it is, let's schedule a virtual coffee. And so I'm touching base with these people every 90 days, not because I need anything, not because I want anything. It could just be, hey, how are you doing? I was thinking about you. Maybe it is a referral, maybe it is something else, but I'm going into it with the notion of I'm going to give something and build that relationship. The essential 50, because I've already established that, the core 50, because I've already established that relationship. These are people like, if I have a launch, if I have something I'm launching, a course or something like that, I can say, hey, can you help me promote this? Or, hey, I'd love to be on the podcast, or, something to that effect. I'm reaching out to them once a month, once every other month. And then, like I said, my Fab Five, they are my daily, if not weekly contacts.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. And that's the all the buckets then, right? Okay. So we've gone through those. I want to make sure I didn't mix up. I didn't mix up my fourth and fifth step, did I?
So your mindset, value
Yeah.
assessment, ecosystems, your inventory list, and your success circles.
Okay. The success circles. Okay. Because now one of the things I would look at with it is, how do you make sure you don't get those all like muddied up though? Like, how do I keep track of all of that?
Yeah, great question. So essentially, if you've been doing the count, that's 155 people, right? That you've narrowed down at any given point. Like, these are the people that I'm going to focus on. While I am a big connector, I know that in order for me to stay consistent and for me to stay true, I need systems in place. And so, for those who are maybe in your essential 100, I don't put these individuals in my CRM because I keep that for actual customers or prospects. With these individuals, they are manual. I say manual, but I use a system called Streak. It's a Google Chrome. So Streak, STREAK. And when I send out these check-in emails or these, hey, here's an article, whatever the case may be, I tag it in Streak and say, this is what I sent out, in 90 days, whatever that cycle is, remind me. Streak puts it on my calendar, and it sends me an email to let me know, okay, you said you were going to reach out to Donald in 90 days. 90 days are up. Follow up with Donald. So I use tools like that. Obviously, you can also use Boomerang. There are different tools that you can use, but Streak has been the thing to keep me honest in connecting in these particular time frames.
Yeah, and I think that's the important part with this. It's like you mentioned, I can see this in your actions, because it goes back to the core philosophy of being willing to deposit or depositing before you can come for a withdrawal. And often for many of us, we collect those. I joke about it, like people collect those LinkedIn connections like Pokemon cards. It's like, what do I do if I catch them all? Like, am I going to become a grandmaster or something? Like it's nothing like that. And there's ways that we can make sure we can build the relationship and help other people. And one of the pieces that I loved all of it, but one of the things that I think that stood out to me, and I put a note to it, was the get clear on who you are and what you bring to the table. And why I feel that's so critical, it's, as a sales professional, salespeople usually look at LinkedIn as like, what can I get from it? How many leads can I get from this? Where can I get opportunities? Who can I sell something to? Rather than who can I bring something to? Who could benefit from our solution? What ideas can I share? And I am a core believer that when you can do that, it happens to you. I think it was Dale Carnegie and so many other people. If you help enough people get what they want, you're going to get what you want in the back end, right? You know what I mean?
Zig Ziglar,
So,
yes.
Zig, good old Zig. I'm putting all this together. Dale, you get it, benefit too.
Yes. And here's the thing. I am on LinkedIn every single day. So some of these outreaches are happening via email, but some of these outreaches, especially for the 100, we haven't made that connection yet. So if I go to a conference or I go to a networking event, I'm immediately reaching out to that person on LinkedIn and saying, hey, it was so great meeting you, ... We start the conversation on LinkedIn, but the goal is to get the conversation via email and then eventually a coffee chat. So you have to look at LinkedIn. Maybe if that's your starting point, that's great. But how do you connect with that person enough for them to then say, hey, I want to learn more? And, we get it all day long, right? Like, oh, your podcast needs help. Oh, really? Does it? Like, based on what? Like,
what you looking at?
Right. We get these messages all the time, and it's an easy, like, no, ignore. But if someone is just like, hey, I listened to this particular episode, or I saw that you did this thing and I was very intrigued by that. Okay, this is someone that I can have a conversation with. If you have Sales Navigator, what I was saying with Streak, you can use Sales Navigator to do that. But I think we're just in a time here, especially on LinkedIn, where they are tightening the belt around how many people you can connect with, how many messages you can send out, especially if you have the free version. You want to make sure if you can, I think as of right now, you can only send out 20 invites, right? Or 20 invites with messages to people you don't know.
I think it's like with messages, I think it's like 3 with messages or some crazy
for the
number.
month. I thought it was 20 for the month.
Okay, maybe it's 20. There's difference, but there's an update that came out, and it's like you can't really send out messages to nobody unless you got a paid version.
Right. So. And so if you only have that limited, you want to make sure that those messages that you send out connect with that person, that it's clear what it is that you are looking for. And again, you're not spamming someone and saying, hey, buy my product or buy my service. What do they have going on? You'd be surprised the number of people who don't even just like look at the profile. Look at the profile. And then you have tools like Crystal Knows, where if you have that tool, I mean, it is a little pricey, but you can at least get the free version of it for 10 profiles. But you can look up to see, oh, okay, this person is a high D. This is how they like to engage. This is how they like communication. And so you can be creative in terms of what information you gather before you reach out to that person. And again, you go in it with the mindset of, what am I going to give before I ask?
I think it was connection request messages. So you can send a connection request, but you can't send, I think you only get like 3 with personal message. Yeah, connection request. So, you're like you said, they're tightening it up, which is good. Which it may go back to what you're saying. Like if it's, you got to make sure it's valuable. What you're going to do, what you're going to say, it has to be of something of worth at that point. So love it. Great stuff. We can go on for days on this. I mean, like, if there's one major takeaway you want folks listening to this episode to go back to the challenge we said at the top, stated at the top, like they're not using LinkedIn because of fear or because of, for whatever reason, they're just not taking advantage of it. What's one thing you would tell them out of everything that we shared today to help them get started?
Yeah, I'm big on strategy, but I'm bigger on relationships and connectivity, right? And so you can have a strategy, you can implement any strategy in place, or you can have a process to help you stay consistent. But when you connect with that person, it has to be like you just met them at a coffee shop, right? And even if it is just online, you are focused on that one person. What do they have going on? What do they need? What do they need support with? Like that is that leading piece, that when you get in front of someone or when you are connecting with someone, that you are doing so with the mindset of, I'm going to get to know this person. I'm going to get to know what they need, how I can support them. And from my reservoir of resources, how I can give to them before I even ask. So use the systems, use the AI tools, use all of those to gather your information. But when you connect as a human, because that is something that we've seen. I mean, everybody has wanted to be connected with in that way from before, but now more than ever, people want that extra human touch.
Oh, Sabine, love it, love it, love it. If folks want to get connected to you, what's the best way for them to go about doing so?
This is going to be a shocker, but LinkedIn. LinkedIn. And so, let me know you heard me on the show. I will gladly connect. If you're one of those people who have not signed up for the Sales Navigator and you have a free meet, go ahead and send me a request and I'll check out your page. But I will say that I will connect. I will connect. I do love connecting with people, and I want to take it beyond just, okay, now you have a connection. How can we support each other? How can we help build? How can I help support you? Let me know.
See, you're always giving, and I love that. And that's what it's all about, the human aspect. Thank you so much for your kind words, your insights today, and helping us out. We appreciate you, and good luck with everything you're doing.
Thank you, Donald. Appreciate you having me.
Hey, that was Sabine. And if you haven't done so already, go back and connect with her on LinkedIn. Tell her that you heard her here on the Sales Evangelist podcast. I'm super grateful for her. I'm super grateful for the insights that she shared. And I'm grateful for you. If you want to take advantage of LinkedIn and use it to its full potential, go ahead. Connect with Sabine, as well as take advantage of LinkedIn. Their information is down below. As always, I want you to thrive and succeed. I want you to be able to gain more opportunities. I want you to be able to build a stronger pipeline. I want you to close more deals and double your close rate. But most importantly, I want you to raise your level of thinking and go out and do big things. See you on the next one.